Hey everybody, Jay the Fish Guy here, live on Saturday night. Can everybody hear me okay? Fantastic. How's everybody doing tonight? Yes, that would be my 2-year-old that is refusing to go down tonight. I thought I gave myself enough time with 20 minutes to get ready and get her put down for the fourth time. All right, so who do we have here? We got CJ, Bubba, Elandy, Philip, Death Mage. How's it going, everybody? Nice, CJ. Yeah, no, what's funny is usually she goes down good. 5, 10 minutes and calls it a day and goes to bed. Tonight, though, she must have known that I wanted to do this and is putting up a bit of a fuss. Hey, Drew, how's it going, man? Finally decided to hop on YouTube, did you? Biggest Christmas wrasse I've ever seen, and you've got one as big as your yellow tang. I guess I'm gonna have to rewatch one of your videos to see how big your yellow tang is, but probably close to 6 inches. I mean, those things can technically get pretty beefy. Nice, I'll have to check it out. And the tang thinks that it's a cleaner wrasse. That must be funny. I'm sure the Christmas wrasse wants nothing to do with them too. Yeah, he's probably still got a little bit of growing to do, but no, that sounds like you got a good sized one to start with. Thanks, Drew. I sold off some of the fish. Drew knows the situation of my tank. I'll inform everybody else. This is my personal tank at home. If you saw some of my videos, I set it up and I did these type of cichlids. You can actually see them. Well, they don't like to be pointed at, but the bigger guys trucking around in there. And I needed to do an order for freshwater fish for some clients, and this tank was the only tank I could house all of them in. So I ended up throwing like 50 different fish in here, and I'm finally whittling them down a little bit, um, getting to the point where it's not as overcrowded. And luckily, I got some good filtration. And I saw Philip say he was gluing some coral. Are you doing some fragging or fixing an issue? Ah, nice. I was just doing some fragging the other day. I was at my client's tank that had the 500-gallon SPS tank, and had a couple of other friends and clients that were looking to get some frags. So I actually made a bit of a video about it, but that's coming up on the to-do list. I just got to do a lot of editing to it. It is a 120. It's 4 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. It's actually pretty deep front to back. And how did you manage to break your hammer in half, Drew? It broke that easily? Oh, that's interesting. I don't imagine it did. The hammers tend to be pretty resilient that way, since most of it is just skeleton. There's no tissue on it. You can break it all day long, and the live part doesn't seem to care. Anybody wants to join the Hangout, I got a link going on right now, hopefully. See you later, Philip. Have a good night. For five people being in here, everybody is awfully quiet. Sounds good, Elandy. And what other 100 are we talking about, Bubba? Oh, subscribers. I think I actually hit 170 today. according to my tablet in front of me anyway. Yeah, well, hey, if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. I'm not too worried about it. And some exciting news for the people that are in here. My next giveaway is going to be at 250, and I actually got Marine Depot to sponsor the 250 sub giveaway. I'm not quite sure what they're going to send. I've been dealing with the wholesale side of Marine Depot for probably 10 years now, give or take. So I was actually kind of excited that they were willing to jump on board, even though I was so small, and were willing to be a part of it. Okay, it looks like somebody just joined. I gotta go double check a setting on my desktop computer, which is actually running this whole thing. It may not let him talk. Hold on one sec. Well, I'm not sure if he's trying to talk or not, but it doesn't look like anything's muted. Um, I don't know. This is all kind of sort of new to me. I apologize.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Oh, hey, there we go. Now I can hear you.
Hi. How's it going, man?
Hey, not too bad.
Good.
What's the discussion about this tonight? Nothing in particular. Just figured I'd start up a live stream. I had some time. The kids were in bed. The wife is doing some homework. So yeah. So what do you have for a tank there, bud? Freshwater planted, I'm assuming, from what I can see.
Yes, sir. This is, I don't know, like a 40 tall. And yeah, we just got some guppies in there and some different random stuff. Got some fry. I don't know if you can see them. Some little guppy fry there.
Nice.
Yeah, so. But yeah, this is just a tank that I threw together. It originally had goldfish. I had goldfish in here for like, I don't know, like 4 years. And then I decided to switch it up and got all these and put some plants in there, and it's going pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, no, looks good. The guppies can be fun. I mean, especially if you start messing around and do some breeding and growing them up.
Right? Yeah. Well, I don't know. They just, I one day I just noticed that they were frying there, and I was like, oh, look, cool.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about guppies. You know, like death and taxes, they're gonna breed and breed and breed some more.
Yeah. Yeah, I got this for my. It's in my living room, so my son can look at it. So he likes it. So
Oh, absolutely.
oh
My
yeah.
kids love sitting in front of the tank and just watching the fish go all around. When I had the tank chock full, they thought it was the greatest thing because it was almost more fish than water seemingly. There was just fish everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got. I don't know how many fish in here I got now. I think I have like 17 maybe fish in here, and then I don't know. These snails just came up out of nowhere. I don't know if you can see them or not. They're like small little snails. They just started coming up out of nowhere. So I don't know. I don't know what I should do with those.
They probably hitchhike in on the plants. If you like your plants and you want to keep your plants, they're probably going to want to get something to eat them. Assassin snails are a great choice. Even after they're done eating the other snails, they'll just eat food they find on the bottom, like a sinking pellet or something.
Right.
Um, 40 breeder, yeah, I mean, or not breeder, but just a 40 gallon. Clown loaches eat them, but the clown loaches will probably get a little too big, and they might actually start going after the guppies.
Huh.
So the assassin snails are probably your best bet.
Right. And I got mystery snails in here too, and I don't know. Will they go after those? I'm assuming.
Yeah, they might. I mean, the mysteries are generally pretty big, but if the assassins were hungry enough, they might try.
Yeah, I might look into that, but I've I've got a 75 gallon out in my garage right now that I'm thinking about setting up and putting all this stuff in there. So we'll see.
Nice. 75 is a good size. I like the 75s.
Yeah, yeah, I like them too, and I don't know. I got to do something with this filter. This filter's kind of too big for this. I think I don't know.
What is it for a filter?
It's just one of those sponge filters.
Oh, okay. Sorry, if I was at my desktop, I could probably see. I always thought with the Google Hangouts that whoever was talking, their video went to the big screen, but for some reason it's not doing that on mine. I'm a bit of a Hangout noob, I guess. I need to get that figured out.
Well, I think because you're on your tablet, right?
Well, I got a lot of shit going. My desktop is running the Google Hangout, and then I'm on my phone downstairs, and that's what the picture of the tank is.
Ah,
So I'm not quite sure.
yeah, I don't
Hey,
know. I think
Laminar Flow, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight. Oh, I have to physically click on them. Well, that's not going to work if the desktop's upstairs and I'm downstairs.
what are your feelings on duckweed?
Duckweed. Well, it grows really fast and it takes over the top of your tank on the surface. So
Right.
if you don't keep it in check, it can block all the light out for the plants below it. Beyond that, I mean, it's a great little plant. You really don't have to do anything. It just kind of grows. I swear you could grow it in the back of a toilet.
Right. Yeah, this I mean that's I got a whole bunch of it and
Oh, hey, look at that. I can do it on my phone. I think I did it. Maybe, maybe not. Well, we'll see.
but I mean I got this guy at work who has a pond, so I've just been taking some out and giving it to him and his goldfish are eating it, I guess. So
Oh, there you go.
yeah, so I've been doing that. So instead of just throwing it away.
Yeah, it doesn't always feel wasteful. Like you have so much of one thing, but there's nothing you can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt like the first couple of times that I threw away because I mean I threw away like big old piles of it away and then I was like, wait a minute, this guy's got a pond, I can give it to him. So
So how's that power head doing there, Laminar Flow? You playing around with it at all? Did you put it? You got a tank in the basement that's got fish in it, right? So do you have anything in there besides the guppies and the mystery snails? Oh, did I lose people? What happened? How's the build coming along? Yeah, Drew, I totally get that. Yeah, Bubba. I guess Elandy there. He dropped out. I thought I did something on my end. Yeah. So Drew has one of the gyre pumps, and he called me up the other day asking about some stray electrical current in the tank that he could feel in his fingers. And after a day or so of checking pumps and plugs and all that good stuff, it turns out it was the gyre pump that's actually leaching electricity into the tank to the point where he can actually feel it in his fingertips. So that's the first time I've heard of that with a gyre. Usually it's the less expensive pumps, little power heads on the inside.
Hey Jay, can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you. What's going on?
Hey, this is my first hangout.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for joining.
Yeah, never done this before. All right, now I got to figure out how this all works.
Yeah, hey, welcome to the club, man. This is the first time I've done a hangout and trying to
Yeah.
make it all work.
All right, so this is pointing at me. How do I change it to the other way?
Top of the screen, little camera icon with some arrows going around in a
Oh,
circle.
look at that.
Yeah, maybe.
You're doing well. Ah, so there I am in my basement. So yeah, I'm kind of picking my way at it here. You're correct. I got a couple of fish down here.
I thought I
Um,
saw that in one of your videos that it was on the
yeah,
table there where you were working on your sumps and stuff.
yeah. Well, so they moved from there. So I had a, well, it's actually outside to be cleaned tomorrow. I've got a 65 that's like 16 years old. Um, that is sort of where I started with things. And then I had it stocked with rock, and I've been picking up some rock here and there. And, the main display upstairs has been it's coming up on a 5-year project at this point. So it's been stalled with other things. We'll just say that.
You have some
Um,
excellent patience if you've managed to go 5 years and you still haven't put water to it
well,
yet.
I've got water in it right now.
Oh, okay.
Fresh water, and I've been playing with pumps, as you probably saw with my last video from last week. Um, but yeah, 5 years. It's yeah. One of these days, I'll throw some other things onto a clip or something for people to understand the rest of my world is yeah. We're on a 34-acre horse farm, so like this time of year, if I'm not out on a tractor mowing or earning money at a real job, I I don't really have a lot of other time to do stuff. So um, things kind of set aside. So that's kind of where it's
I
at.
totally get that.
So
Free
I
time
picked
is
up
premium.
right. So I picked up this 29 off of a guy on Craigslist back in, I don't know, January or maybe December timeframe. And it came with the two little guys that are in there, the clown and the uh, what is he, the Coral Beauty. And so they're good friends and they hang out. And the corals that are in there came with it. I have no idea what they are. There's one of them you can kind of, maybe you can't see it. It doesn't look good with these. There's a green, I think it's a mushroom of some type. It looks pretty cool under the blue lights. But I've got that, and then I threw a 10-gallon tank underneath, and I'm trying to grow Chaeto on that. Got some grow lights going, and anyway, that's all sort of an experiment and a holding space. These guys hopefully will get to survive through and get a bigger, greater home up in the living room. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, the whole overflow into the basement concept sounded really cool, and there's a lot of mechanics and issues with it, right, as you go through. So and then you got to work at it in terms of time. So
Always something.
it's always something. Yeah, I don't do this for a career, obviously. So not like you. So getting things done expediently is not necessarily my priorities. Um,
Well, usually my personal tanks end up coming last. I have been working on some stuff down in the basement that I'm doing more into actually just simply ordering fish for my customers that I'm tired of shopping at the pet stores around here as far as the selection and the quality. It's just not up to my standards. So I've
Right.
been chipping away at building some basic systems enough to hold fish for a few weeks at a time and sell them off and then get some new stuff in.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see inside there, probably not very well. So I took down my 65 when I found these marvelous barrels because I no longer needed a fish tank to hold the rock and keep it wet. I got a barrel that I can kind of keep it in and cook it in. So
There you go. It's
anyway,
a bit dark. Oh, there you go.
it's,
I was trying to figure out what I was looking at, and then I saw the lid of the barrel. I got you.
yeah,
Just like
you
a
can see
food
the lid.
grade 55-gallon barrel.
Yeah, I found a guy selling these on it's the new app, Let Go app. He
Yep.
had like 25 of these and wanted a whopping $10 a piece, and so I picked up 4.
Nice.
I got a pair of
They're
those
handy.
over there.
I make water in my basement in those kind of barrels. Very friendly.
Yeah. So I would be interested actually in understanding how, what you've done with them. So I've got 4 of them.
Yep.
Those 2 over there that are sort of glowing in the light are full with RO. Actually, one's I just put salt in today, and it's gonna go in. We'll do a water change over there, and then a water change in the rocks tomorrow. It's been a couple of weeks in the rocks, so I'll swap out some water on those. Um, but yeah, just the process of what to do with them. I've marked them as to how high up I am, but how do I agitate water inside? I've got a power head in there and a hose, and it kind of circulates. It's a little. I'm looking at actually here. I can probably show you. Well, see now I'm going to wake up the fish. Let me go around the other way. I can't get through because I've got a cord.
Gotcha.
So I had looked at the covers here. It's just a standard 3/4 inch thread, and this is another thing that I'm going to play with is, maybe I can plumb something into it, hang a pump either on the top that comes up and out and around and whatever with some valves. But I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking is, geez, I could do something with one of these tops the way the threads work, and so
Well,
that's a
what
video I'll do too.
I've got a couple of clients that have kind of water making stations, and one of them actually uses 2 of those blue barrels. So the next time I go
Yeah.
there, I'll shoot a video and kind of walk you through the process. The quick surmise is that it uses a good size external pump that sits in between the 2 barrels.
Right.
And we got the bottom of both barrels drilled and bulkheaded. And one of
Okay.
them's an RO barrel, the other one is a salt barrel. So that pump is tied in with a T to both barrels with a ball valve going in between both. So
Okay.
you can pull from one barrel and then have it go through the pump. The output goes up and then over, also teed to both barrels. So it allows you to pull from one and pump to the other and vice versa,
Yep.
and then close one barrel down completely and have it recirc in just one barrel. So you can pull RO water, pump it into the salt mixing barrel, close the ball valve, and then it can just sit there and circulate with that big pump, and it agitates it, and it has enough force going down that it actually stirs up the salt on the bottom of the barrel. If you build this close enough to your basement sump setup, you can actually plumb it to where you'll have another output, and you can pump it straight to your sump after you're done mixing it for your water change. So you don't even have to, add an additional pump and run vinyl tubing and, buckets or whatever you have to do. You can just make it all friendly to all you have to do is plug in and open a ball valve.
Right. Right. And that's so that's where I'm. Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, no, that's.
I haven't gotten that far yet. Yeah, I mean, I've got a set tub sink. I've got, well, I've got an RODI that really needs to get pimped. To be honest, it's got like I'm missing stuff on it. I need some check valves, and you know, I need to spend time on that. I've got some stuff on that. That's yet another project. But
Oh, yeah.
this stuff is across the room from where the sump is. So I guess I could go up and over with the RODI and house a couple of barrels over on the side there. Yeah, that's a detail, I guess, that I can work out at any point, I guess, is the way I'm viewing that. Is if it's a pain in the ass to do water changes near term, that would be a good problem rather than not having any water to change because the living room's been dry for 5 years. So
Right.
we'll get there. We'll get there. So who else do you have on?
Looks like E. Landy has come back with us here.
Yep.
Hey, all right. Got your phone charged back up or swapped to a different device?
Yeah. I switched to my tablet.
Gotcha. I just had to plug my phone in. I was wondering why it beeped at me, and apparently I'm running out of juice. So plugged in, and we should be good now. Just a little
Sweet.
different view of the tank. I had to get a little bit closer to be able to plug in. Not much going on in the comments. Thanks, Susan, for joining us. And thanks for stopping by. Looks like you're taking off.
So Jay, while you're reading comments, do you have, I assume you've got a list of things to talk about.
What's that? One more time, sorry.
I assume you have a list of other things to talk about.
For this evening's stream, actually,
Just
I
in
didn't-
general for videos.
Yeah, I kind of pick and choose as ideas come to me. Actually, lately it's been nice. I've had folks making requests, so my job's been pretty easy for the last couple of videos. But just things that come up while I'm out and about working on tanks, it'll be like, oh, well, that would make a good video, and
Right.
I add it to the list.
Okay, well, maybe I'll send you some suggestions on the side.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. I always welcome suggestions because, I mean, I've heard pretty much almost every question you can imagine, and most of them hundreds of times over. So it's easy for me to actually forget sometimes all the various little ins and outs and things I could talk about that I just kind of space it sometimes.
All right, well, maybe I'll shoot you those in an email on the side.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So while I've got you and I'm picking your brain, if you've got time.
Oh, absolutely.
So your refugium. So I had, I've got this 55 here for my sump, and I don't have any baffles in it yet. Well, I had baffles and I took them out because I wasn't sure they were where I wanted them, and I wanted to start over. And I was thinking I would set it up sort of a center section as a refugium, very much like everybody else in the world does. But I've got that old 65 that's dry. So I'm thinking I want to, maybe I could use the 65 as a refugium. But am I just overkilling myself in terms of water volume? If I've got a 125 display and I've got, I'll have, I don't know, maybe 100 gallons in the basement? Is that
I
crazy?
don't think there's really anything that you could possibly do that would be overkill in terms of water volume. I mean, a larger body of water is inherently more stable. So
Yeah.
another 65 gallons is not a bad thing by any means. The fact that you can have that be completely separate from your sump, the ability to control where the water is getting pulled from, so you're able to give it as clean of water and as detritus free as possible, and then have it just simply gravity, drop back into your sump and allow it to, go along its way that way.
Hmm.
That would be great because then you can put as much throughput as you through your sump as you want and not have to worry about having too much water flow just blowing through the refugium area. Because I mean, you need contact time with the refugium. You got to have enough time where the water can kind of, hang out and the macro can do its job. You don't
Right.
want 1,000 gallons per hour blowing through your refugium.
Right. Right.
And a quick question in the comments is been reading on Aquaphorus salt and the whole line. Have I ever tried it? I haven't. I hear relatively good things, but I mean, you can hear relatively good things on almost anything these days in the hobby. But there's definitely a lot of people that push it and say it's great. I don't know if they're getting paid to push it, if the company was giving them incentives to pick up the entire line and now they're stuck with it and they want to move it. Um, I've seen a lot of that over the years. So, I mean, I guess I have to look into and see what end hobbyists are actually doing with it and what kind of results they're getting. I mean, what really is their claim to fame as far as why they're better? You know, that would be my question, I guess. So where are you right now with the tank build? What's your next project that you're going to try to tackle to move along?
Who you asking, Jay?
Oh, you, sorry.
Yeah. So, well, I got a vacation coming up in a week. So my first task is to empty the water that I've got. So I did a brief set of tests where well, it's really a question of my pump uh, sizing. I've got a Jabo DCT 1200 pump, which when I got it again, this is my time frame. I've had the pump for probably close to 2 years now, and it really hasn't gotten wet until the last couple of months. But the thought was it should be able to push my water up the 11 feet that I need it to, plus whatever minimum piping I have for it, which is pretty minimum. You can see it's a straight shot coming straight off the pump pipe. Yeah, excuse me, straight off the pump going up.
Yep.
Um, so I did some basic testing there. I've done full testing on the rest of the plumbing upstairs, played with the overflows, gurgle things, valves, all the rest of that, and had fun with that last week. Really just trying to understand all of the mechanics of it to make sure that I kind of figured that out. But basically, I'm going to drain the water back out, and then I'm going to hack up this bench and drop the whole sump down 12 inches. Because I want to be able to put the 65 back over there where it was sitting before and have it gravity feed into the sump,
Gotcha. Yep.
right? That extra foot, it's going to limit my flow with the pump that I've got. The plan's always been to have a second pump ready to go. So I'm going to buy a bigger pump, and this one will be my second pump ready to go. And if my main pump fails, my backup pump will provide less flow than the main pump. But I think that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. I
Um,
mean, as long as it can still
and
flow and water can circulate through the whole entire system, anything is better than nothing at all and it just being dead in the water, so to speak.
right, right. And so that's sort of the next piece to get through. So I got to drain stuff. Um, hopefully, I was planning on that happening this weekend, but I was on a mower most of the day. And that's kind of how the weekends go. So hopefully that'll get I can get the water out of here tomorrow. I've got well, it's maybe not obvious, but I've got a pipe up there at the top that shoots over the roof and down into my set tub sink over here. So with the right valving, I should be able to run the grand majority of the water out of the whole system um, without having to pump it. Right? I mean, it's upstairs.
Yep.
Right? So if I do the right thing with it, I should be able to feed it into the drain here. And of course, that'll work for water changes as well, right?
What are you considering for a bigger pump?
So I'm pretty happy with the way the Jabo is working. Their newer models, I think, will get me the difference in head pressure that I need. I think if I pick up like a 1500 instead of the 1200, um, in the new model, the sine wave technology or whatever it is, they're claiming. So this pump is currently targeted at 5 meters of head is their max, and the new pump, the 15, I think they're talking about 8. So I mean that's a 60% upgrade,
That's
which
substantial.
is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So I
one
should be able to push all the water I want with that.
one thing I will suggest, and Drew in the comments there, one SRX can tell you as well. Acquire a second um, power pack for the pump. So these DC pumps, they have the power bricks, right?
Yeah.
Get a second one, have a backup, because it's not the
Okay.
pump that goes bad, it's those power bricks.
Oh.
And Drew had some serious issues that a power brick went bad. The company was having a massive issue with the power bricks. They had new ones being made, but how long was it, Drew? Was that like 4 weeks? Maybe more that he was without. He ended up having to buy one that kind of looked like it was going to be okay based on the specs off of
Mhm.
Amazon. That wasn't even meant for the pump, but it was just a DC power brick, and he got it working. It couldn't run full tilt, but it's crazy when when we have these big reef tanks with all this money sunk in. And then something as simple as a power brick going down, and then the company doesn't even have them to send you for warranty.
Right.
It's an issue.
Right. Well, so that actually that backs up my thoughts of get another one of the same kind, right? I mean, presumably the power brick, as long as I stick with the 24-volt pump, right? The new Jabos, they actually have an 1800 and a 2000 or something like that, or maybe it's 18,000 and 20,000 or something like that. But they're 36-volt pumps instead of 24.
Yeah, the
So
what
if
was
I
it? The
get an
Ecotech
like the
Marine were the first ones to do the 36, and now everybody seems to be
okay.
following suit.
Yeah, so if I pick up the highest end pump they've got in the 24-volt line, I've got a power brick, I've got a controller, and
Excellent.
presumably they should be interchangeable, and I should, all I really need to swap out is the pump itself. Um,
Yep.
and that's one of those I can deal with that. So, yeah, kind of picking my way through. I've got my rock and a barrel ready to go. I've got yeah, I got to hack up the bench here, move the sump down, and then I think I'm ready to mix a lot of salt and at least start something cooking. I gotta set some baffles in the sump and do all of that too, which is obviously gonna take me a little while. I've got a mock up in. You ever use Google SketchUp?
I've heard of it. I think I played with it once. I don't really mess with it.
You know what? I'll probably have a SketchUp video out before I actually have fish in my tank in the living room, because that's I don't know. I'm throwing the videos out really as a way to kind of give myself motivation to keep pushing things forward. And so part of me is saying, well, I can, you know, I've got 32 people waiting for another update, right?
There you
So,
go.
uh,
Drew made a comment saying that there's different amp power supplies for the different flow pumps. So at the very least, it would be worth looking at the exact specs on each power brick to make sure that
well, that's a good
um,
question.
they would work. I'm not familiar with the Jebos, so I didn't want to speak on it either way. But it'd definitely be worth keeping in mind when you get it.
Okay, yeah, no, I should check that. I've got myself pinched. So, looking at other things, right? I mean, I need to wire in another plug here or there so that I'm not doing things like that. But
If you
um,
think you need one plug, add like three. That's generally how it works. You can never have too much power.
right, right, and that's I don't know if you can read that. I don't even know what. Not sure I can read it.
Looking on my phone, I'm not getting very great
It
detail.
looks like
Well, a little bit better.
2.5 amps
Yeah.
and a 5 amp output at 24 volts.
Yeah, so you should
Anyway,
be able to compare that number to
compare
when you
that
get a
with the
new
other one.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good suggestion. Because if they're equal, then I should be okay. The interesting thing is this pump. I think they said 100 watts, and the max I've seen it pushing is 79 off of my watt meter up there.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've got one of these things, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, if I
Gives
remember
you
correctly,
gives you
Drew
a good
couldn't
idea.
find the exact amp match, so he went with one that was slightly smaller instead of larger. And when he tried turning it up to full power, it would just, the safety cutout would kick on and it just wouldn't run. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm sure he'll let me know.
Oh, that's a pisser.
Yeah. But he was
Yeah.
able to still at least run it until finally, I don't think did the power brick ever come, Drew? Did we just end up upgrading you right to the Vortec pump, the Ecotech Marine one? I think we just ended up getting a new pump.
Yeah. So back onto video topics. Power
Yes.
is a great thing to discuss,
Yep.
right? I've got a single circuit 15 amp circuit that's wired to those two plugs, those two guys, and that guy, as well as I don't know that mess over there underneath, right? So if I crank up everything, maybe I'm already at 15 amps. So I mean, I should probably add another circuit. But 15 amps, 20 amps, how many circuits is enough to plan for a room? There's a whole bunch of good questions there to discuss and talk through.
For sure. The nice thing is the hobby for a few years now has really been moving in a direction of less power. It
Yeah,
kind of started with LEDs when they hit the scene originally, and then people realized that those weren't nearly strong enough. So I mean, now we're running much, much more powerful LEDs that are running, over 100 watts per fixture. But still, I mean, with DC pumps, DC power heads, the things are a lot less in terms of energy consumption than they used to be, which is great for everybody, and less of a concern about tripping breakers. I mean, back in the days when we were, at the shop, we were running multiple metal halide setups, 8 bulb T5 fixtures, very energy inefficient external pumps and
right.
AC pumps. We were tripping circuits every now and again and had to get creative.
Yeah. So you're right. Yeah. I mean, the overall draw, I mean, I don't think I'm anywhere close to 15 amps on this yet. But in terms of adding, um, so one of the other considerations is power failure, right? I mean, if I've got two different circuits, I've got two different places that could fail, or I have, you know, redundancy, depending on how you want to look at it, whether you're thinking glass is half full or glass is half empty, right?
Right.
And then in terms of if you're thinking about, you know, what do you do in a real power failure, right? Up in New Hampshire, you probably have a generator or thoughts. You have a way to generate power if you're out for a while, right?
Yeah, generators are pretty much the norm. You know, whether we have winter ice storms or a summer or spring thunderstorm that's a windstorm that rolls through. Most people are pretty well
Right.
prepared. I will say though, our electric co-op here is generally pretty good, unless it's a real rural town or the outage occurred in the middle of nowhere in the woods kind of deal. It's very rare, at least for me in the town that I'm in, to be out of power for more than 12 hours, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the time when you're out for a long time is when you're where your break is isolated, right? And there's other breaks around, right? I mean, they're going to fix the places that serve the most people first,
Yep.
you know. So if they've got, you know, thousands of people out and yours is isolated in terms of the outage, I mean, you're going to be stuck with it for a while. We're not out that often, so. But I don't know. It's interesting. Did you see my Inkbird video?
I haven't had a chance this past week to do much watching. My schedule has been a little bit crazy. I'll definitely have to go check it out, though. What
So
was it about specifically?
if you recall my response on your contest, the thing that I needed or couldn't live without was a controller for my heater for these guys.
Yes.
So I went out and I got this Inkbird controller, which is predominantly apparently used in the beer brewing hobby. But this one's got both heating and cooling capabilities, so you can set a stop point up and down, and then it's got a plug. I don't know if you can. Well, that's in the way. Yeah, you can kind of see it. There's a
Yep.
cooling plug and a heating plug.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
It's very cool. It's very simple. And so my thought was, you know, I probably never need cooling because I've got a sump in a 68-degree basement. Um, but if I do, you know, a fan over the water, as you pointed out in one of your recent videos, would probably suffice. But you know, for $30, this is pretty good, and it's, you know, it's going to keep them from perishing if that guy over there sticks on, right?
Absolutely. And 30
Right?
bucks, that's pretty affordable.
It's really affordable. Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
love finding those little things where you're able to find something that's not generally used for the aquarium hobby, so it's still relatively affordable.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So these guys apparently also make a unit that does has a humidity sensor built in as well. Um,
Oh, yeah, so you can power an exhaust fan or something if you're so inclined.
yeah, yeah. If you've got you know humidity issues in your cabinet or your hood or something. So
Nice.
you know maybe it's a poor man's way of doing some of those controls. I had some comments on it. People telling me that you know, oh, you're crazy. You got to get yourself an Apex, and I'm like,
Oh, geez.
dude, that's a grand I'm not dropping for a long time. All right, I
Yeah,
love to have an Apex. That would be cool, but that's a grand.
I,
Yeah.
uh, I don't mind the Apexes. I think they're great. I just don't think you need them, quote unquote, for anything. Because I mean, any of my personal tanks I've ever done, any of the tanks I ever had at the shop, I never had a controller. The most I ever did was maybe like a pH controller for a calcium reactor or a heater controller, for the nicer reef we had set up. But everything else was just you didn't need it.
Right, right. Well, and that this is going in that direction. So the other thing, the note on the Inkbird there, it's good to 1200 watts. So I
Oh,
could
nice.
double up. I could double up a number of heaters off of that heat plug output. I could run a pair of 300-watt heaters, in my big tank and be fine. Right? I mean,
Drew had a question. What brand is that?
it's Inkbird is the name of the brand.
Inkbird. All right. And you
Yeah,
said you had a video on it?
I do.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
I
maybe
do.
if
Check it out. I think it's the last thing that
yeah,
I posted was my Inkbird.
maybe if you're able to write a quick comment in the chat, that way Drew can follow it along. I think Drew, if you right click or click on the little three dots to the right of his name when he writes something, you can go to his channel and check it out.
I was gonna say, how do I get back to the chat?
You might have to go to the YouTube app and do it that way,
I think
if
so.
that's still open. Maybe. I might lose you.
Yeah, well, if you do, you do. Let's see. All right. Am I still there?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
It's funny is I kind of pride myself in being fairly technologically inclined, but every time I start playing with a new app or something, I feel like I'm my grandfather or something. I'm like, how the hell does this thing work again? Oh, geez.
Yeah. Trust me, I literally design computer chips, and I can't figure out how the darn phone works half the time.
Thanks, Jay Carey. Only half of them are live. The tall ones are plastic. The short ones are just some basic crypts that I had a customer that had way too many. I ended up pulling out like 50 individual little plants and just put them in my own personal tank to grow up and then end up spreading around to other customers as they have requests. I might be able to actually pull it up on my laptop and then just grab the link and throw the link up if it lets me. I think it's because it's my. Oh, nope, there we go. You got it. Never mind. Are you still there, bud? Maybe, maybe not. Thanks for
That's
stopping
bad.
by, Drew. Have a good one. So, do you have any other tanks set up in the house? Have you had aquariums before, or was this 125 is your first jump into the whole aquarium thing? Nope, must be talking to myself.
Jay, was that back to me?
Oh, it was. Yeah, sorry.
I'm still. I got myself over into YouTube, and I can't figure out where the video call went. Oh, there it is. Okay, now I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, no. So the only other tank I had was the 65 that was here, and as I said, I've had that for years and years. I had made a comment in one of my videos a long time back. I actually got that tank from the only place that I've seen Mike Lemming do a fish store video on. So I was like, hey, Mike's shopping at the same place that I did a long time ago,
Well, that's funny.
which is a place in Framingham, Mass. I used to live up that way.
Yep.
And, back then it was, well, we didn't have any sump on it. Well, yeah, there was a wet dry underneath, right? But, there was I never ran a skimmer on it. I never had corals in it. It was just fish. Um, and I'll be honest. I mean, my kill rate was pretty crazy high for the first few years. Um,
And how
we,
long
we
ago
were,
was this that you were doing this?
it was 15, 16 years ago.
The hobby was in a very different place 15 years ago. I mean,
It was, and the store I was shopping at, which I cautioned Mike on one of my comments to him was, be careful. They sell stuff for a living, right?
yep.
They don't care if you keep it alive. Um, their job is to sell you more, right? So, which I had learned the hard way there as well from going over and visiting, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, your tank can handle more fish. Um, and we did some bad things back then. But the funny thing is, we moved south 10 years ago, and I did the move 800 miles. So tore down the tank at 5 in the morning. 12 buckets from Home Depot in the car, tank strapped in the back seat, jump in the car and drive. Stuck in DC traffic, just 12-hour ride turns into a 14-hour ride, and then I had to put the whole thing back together. And surprisingly, everything lived, which I
Nice.
couldn't believe. Yeah, it's like, wow. Everything lived. And then 2 years later, we moved across town 5 miles, and I killed it all, right?
Oh, geez. Don't you love when
you
that
know,
happens? Oh,
it's like,
man.
shit, really? Um, so yeah, that's been the only other tank, but I've always wanted something larger. And then, when we got into this house, this was sort of the plan all the way through. Is you know, nobody builds a 125-gallon tank into their living room without having a plan, and so that was sort of there. But life catches up with you and things take off. And dual college tuition currently.
Ah, yes. Fun times.
It comes right back to that. There's no way I'm dropping $1,000 for an Apex anytime soon.
Right.
Um,
I have four. I'm dreading when they get to college age.
just keep saving, man.
Yeah.
Just keep saving it. You'll
Right.
piss through it in faster than you can believe. It's such a scam. I mean, so you want to talk about, yeah, no, that's a crazy world. The you know they hook you into tuition, and then every year for the next 3 years they raise it on you,
Oh, yeah.
right?
And
What are
then
you going to do?
you get
You
out
you
of
have
school and they're like, oh, well, there's no jobs for you. Good luck.
right,
Yeah.
and they have you know yeah, they got you, right. I mean, it's not like you're going to leave the school because they raised tuition by $2,000, this year versus last year.
Yep.
Well, we're just going to pay that. Okay. So yeah, no, that's keep saving, and get an SAT prep course.
Yep.
Get the
Hopefully
books
some
and
scholarships.
run them through those classes as many times as you can, because the higher those scores come in, the more money somebody's going to give you,
Yep.
and that's part of the whole game, right? Is for them to it's the Labor Day mattress sale, right? The sticker price is inflated, and they're more than willing to discount the price for the people they want
To make them look good.
to make them look good. Exactly. So if you're one they want, they throw more money at you, and so you got to make yourself one they want, and you get it down as much as you can before you get started, because it's gonna go up every year while you're there. It's nuts. It's nuts. But
So, what are your plans for the 125?
in terms of stocking,
Yeah, corals, fish. What's the idea?
well, it's gonna be fish. It's basically everything that's in the 29 that I've got here now are gonna move once it's stable, which is a couple of corals that I don't really know what they are and a pair of fish. And I'll add fish from there. We'll see how that goes. Got a buddy at work who's got an insane tank. And so, maybe I can get him to frag off some stuff for some short money. Um, we'll see. Um,
Yep.
but I'll take it slow, hopefully a little faster than the build has been, but it's definitely going to go slow. So as I said, all thought provoking on all of your videos, right? I, I don't think I'll get sign off for glass bottom. Um, you
Oh,
know,
for bare bottom. Yep.
the wife has not been a big part of all of this, but I guarantee if I said, "Hey, I'm going to do this with no sand," she's going to go, "No, no, that's not going to work in the living room.
It's funny. It's
We
usually
need
the
sand."
wife that ends up vetoing that idea, um,
Well,
more often than
yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, and it'll happen here too. So it's going to have sand. That's okay. But I think
And
if
it
I
is.
plan it
Yeah.
out, I've got a plan so that uh, one of my drains under the cabinet, the emergency drain, so not the, um, I'm basically setting up a bean animal, but it's across two different overflows. So I'm back feeding up into one of the overflows, and that's what the emergency is. But the emergency's got a Y under. The intent is to put a hook under there and enough hose and a gravel vac that I can reach from there up into the tank and vacuum the gravel and have it run stuff down into either direct into the drain to take stuff away, or drop it through a sock or something into the sump, and then I can just vacuum to my heart's content without actually worrying about how, geez, I've gone through 30 gallons of water already. Okay, well,
Right.
so that's my thought on the sand is I'll do sand, and I'll have to be diligent about maintaining it and making sure I suck it up on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I mean, you
I
watch my
think it's okay.
video is to have the fewest points of contact touching the sand as possible,
Yes.
and just don't go too deep with it. I mean, the name of the game is flow. If you have enough flow around the base structure of the rock to where you're kicking out the detritus and making sure that it doesn't just sit under there and rot, and having it open enough that the fish and the crabs and the other inverts can get under there, or at least some of them. That's huge. I mean, that's kind of
Right.
all of it, really. And then just some mild gravel vacking as necessary. If there's a certain corner where everything seems to settle, the sand in that area will get a little bit more filled up with detritus, and just make sure to hit that every time you do a water change.
Right. Right. And then just generally loosening it if it gets packed, right? I mean, that's part of the whole old tank syndrome, as you called it, right?
Yep, yep. With a thinner layer of sand and getting to it on a regular basis, it doesn't generally end up turning into a brick. It's those tanks where people haven't moved their rock for the better part of a few years, and the
Hmm.
rock is taking up the majority of the floor space. So
Yep.
the only sand they've ever addressed is like a 3-inch strip running along the front of the tank. It's under the rock that's where it ends up turning into a brick and just
Right.
not functioning properly.
And that's exactly what I found in my 65 when I tore it down 2 months ago, um, when I got my barrels. So
Yep.
yeah, but I had it piled with rock, which is all now in that barrel. Um,
What did you end
so
up doing for lights for the tank? Have you got lights yet?
I've got some. I've got some LEDs upstairs that I purchased a couple of years ago. They are they're very cheap LEDs, and I don't think they're going to be sufficient to do everything, and they may just become, side things, and I may have to upgrade things. I'm planning. I'm a fan of LEDs just because of the benefits in terms of its power, right? I mean, heat heat is power, right? So
Yep.
that's the big benefit there, right? They're not consuming that much power. So the ones I'm trying to think of what the name brand is on them. They're not
Kessels,
dimmable.
Hydras, Radions.
Oh no, nothing anywhere close to that high end.
Oh, okay.
They were, I don't know. When I got them, it was a couple of years ago. I think they were probably 85, $100 a piece.
Okay.
And I've got a couple of 24-inch units, and so it will provide light, but I don't think it's going to help grow coral.
Are they
So I
just
may
like
wind up.
little skinny strips that are 2 feet
Now they're
long?
bigger than the strips. So if you look at the strips I've got on here, they're much bigger than these.
Okay.
Um, they're probably 6 inches wide. Oh gosh, I wish I could remember the name of them. Um, but they're not controllable. They just got a switch on, switch off.
Gotcha.
Um, which frankly I may take them apart and see if I can solder in connections and control them. And go from there. So these guys, these two bars came with this tank with the 29 that I picked up here. So this, I think I mentioned, was a Craigslist purchase, and I was after this really as I wanted a larger tank, well, smaller than my 65, but bigger than a 10 that I could use as um, some kind of hospital slash emergency unit.
Yep.
And when I found this guy who was selling it, I mean, so I picked up this guy. The 10 underneath was his quarantine, so I cleaned that up really well before I made it into a sump underneath. Um, but it came with both of these light bars. I got the RODI brand new in the box with the purchase, and so I got a bunch of stuff with it. These guys are interesting because they're you can't see on these, but they're it's whites and blues. One of the bars has greens and reds in it as well,
Yep.
but it's on two channels. But they're not directly switched.
Yeah,
But
the light bar I have on my tank that's actually on the camera right now. Actually, let me see if I can pick this up and show you. Gotta unplug the phone real quick. Is pretty much the same idea. So you have whites, greens, and reds that are on one channel, and then the blues are on a separate one.
correct.
Uh, Yeah, just a very, very simple, great for, like you said, light, but isn't going to do much of anything for. I mean, I'm doing some very, very basic live plants. If I tried doing anything more than what I was, the plants wouldn't survive. So corals are definitely out of the question on anything of that caliber.
Right, right. So I figure I'll either pick up some Chinese boxes or whatever. Um, we'll see if I could make the ones in the living room controllable, because I think that's one of the things I want to make sure I have the capability on. But these guys, so I picked up, again, it's another video coming up at some point. Um, I picked up this guy. Uh, I think it was like $25, and it's a programmable controller, and it's
Nice.
pretty cool. It's got the worst user manual I've ever read.
It's just been translated twice, and not all of it is making it through translation.
Well, yeah, and the person who wrote the English doesn't know English, right? So yeah, it means nothing. Absolutely useless. But I figured out how to work it. The downside on it is you got to connect the thing through a USB cable to actually program it. Computer anywhere close to here, so I either have to bring a computer to it, or unscrew it from the wall and take it to the computer and program it. But it's got a number. Yeah, I've got, I don't know, 10 different settings in it right now. Um, to run the 3 different channels that I've got set up off of it. So I've got a white channel, a blue channel, and then I've got my Refugium is running off of it, right, which is my 3rd channel. And it's not huge output. I mean, well, actually it claims 20 amps, which well, it depends on what we feed it with, right?
What
But
was it originally designed for? Where did you find that?
I found it on the web someplace. I can't remember. Again, I'll have a video up on this at some point.
Sure. Yep.
But it's, in terms of if you inherit a pair of these, this is pretty cool. This works, right?
Hey, it's better than not having the ability to control it for sure.
It's better than flicking switches, right? And so on this thing, I can program, to 1 minute granularity any number of programs. I haven't gotten to a limit on it. I've got, like I said, probably a dozen different settings that I've put in there, and so I've been playing. So yeah, I don't want to zap or rock the fish any more than I already have here, but I can run through. So I've got, I'm currently running a run where I've got 45 or 55% blue and 40% white at the max. And it runs over I guess it's a 13, 14-hour day, with the blues being on 14 hours and the whites ramp up and down over a 12-hour period. So
Nice.
It kind of works, right? But I've programmed in those things. I've got a little Excel spreadsheet that I use to get the right numbers for what numbers I want, and I've graphed those. Again, I'll make a video of all this. But it's, it goes right back with this, right? I don't need $1,000 Apex when I can pick one of these guys up for $25 and run some LEDs that don't otherwise have controllers on. Right? So.
Now, one video I've been thinking about for a while that I just haven't gotten around to yet is actually talking about the various LED lights on the market right now, and really what your options are and what they're capable of. I will say, even though the Chinese black boxes are very capable for their price point, and with your tinkering and your ability to put that controller on and to be able to play with them that way, there is a limit in the sense of, if you ever hope to do any SPS corals and get the best coloration out of them, those guys just don't seem capable. And it's not necessarily the output power. I think a lot of it has to do with the LED diodes themselves.
The exact LED that's being used.
Right, and the combination of colors. So even amongst the big brands, what I like to refer to as the big 3 of the American distributors. So you have Ecotech Marine and the Radions, you have Aqua Illumination and their Hydras, which are, funny story, now one company. They're one and the same. So the Radions are considered the upper tier of their offerings, and then the Hydras are supposedly the mid-grade, so to speak. Both are very, very capable. They both look good. And then you have the Kessels. I've actually found that as far as SPS is concerned, Kessels seem to be nudging ahead. If you're doing strictly LED and you're not supplementing with additional T5s, which, if you've seen a lot of videos and a lot of forum postings,
a lot of people,
everybody supplements with T5s in addition to their LEDs. But I've seen it time and again on personal tanks as well as clients' tanks. And right now, my one big tank that I deal with is a 500-gallon reef. I have a new video that I was just there this past week. I just need to get the editing done. But if you look back, I think it was one of the original videos I posted, actually. He's got 4 Kessel AP700s, which is the panel. So those things retail for like $900 per panel. They're good for
ludicrous,
3 to 4 feet, right, all by themselves. And then he's got 6 of the Kessel 360 WEs. So I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a big tank. It's a 10-foot tank. It's 32 inches front to back, so you need 2 layers of lighting to get full coverage front to back. So he's got
But
a
he's
ton of
got
light on
6
there.
to 8 grand in lighting.
Yeah, I think it's right around. He picked up a lot secondhand, but at least 5 grand. Yes, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 10 foot long reef tank. Everything starts getting exponentially expensive at that point.
Right. Right.
But let's say your tank, for example, if you did 3 of the 360 WEs, that technically would be sufficient if we're going to talk apples to apples. But
Right.
his primary focus is SPS, so he has front to back, left to right, top to bottom SPS in that tank. The growth
Right.
and the colors by far beat any other LED I've ever seen as far as what he's getting out of them. So
Have you
they're pretty
looked
impressive.
have you looked at Rapid LED?
I've heard of them. I've never done any business with them, and I've never played with any of their products firsthand.
So they sell kits, basically. Well, you can get kits or you can get individual parts. I mean, all the way down to, if you want one Cree ultraviolet LED, you can
Buy
order it
just
from
one.
Rapid LED, right?
Yep.
Just the LED, right? And then they sell, all of the everything from the LED all the way up through, a full kit, and they actually have boxes as well. But well, I'm dating myself, so it's a Radio Shack kind of Heathkit kind of thing where
Yep.
they give you all of the parts and you got to sit down and solder stuff together, and they give you a diagram, and I haven't priced it in a long time. It was a long time ago that I looked at those, but that depending on pricing, I may wind up picking up at a bare minimum something from them to test out and see where things are at.
I
Um,
lost interest and, like yourself, hadn't looked into them in a very long time. They were very popular when LEDs were first coming onto the scene, the commercially available fixtures that were meant
right,
for aquariums. So their price points were very attractive because those commercially available lights were crazy money. Nowadays, with let's say the Kessel AP, the 360 WEs, those are 399 a light. Very very capable, very powerful. The Hydra 20, what are they, 26s, I think?
26.
Hydra 26, yep. Those are
Yeah,
299 now, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, to get that level of capability, and that thing's Wi-Fi enabled without any additional hardware, you can,
right,
attach it to the Wi-Fi to your home and control it with an app from your phone. That is a ton of functionality for 300 bucks a light.
right.
So that's where I think you haven't really heard much from places like the Rapid LED or the build your own stuff, because if you can buy a fixture with that level of capability and it comes with a warranty, it's really hard to rationalize building one yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you just want to go out and unless you enjoy the build.
Right, unless that's part of it for you as far as the
Right,
hobby is you're getting to put it together like an erector set kind of deal.
right, right. And we'll see what the pricing looks like once I get things going. I think what I've got upstairs right now is probably, well, it's certainly enough to, for these guys to survive.
To get going,
We'll
get off the ground, you got fish in there, and can you
Yeah,
add some beginner inverts and crabs and snails and such? Yeah, absolutely.
get a cleanup crew going in there and all the rest of that. I have no expectation that I'm going to get to a crab per gallon. Um, that's probably one of the places that I pushed my chair back and went, Jay, really? You're there?
Well,
Um,
all right. Now think of most people in the hobby. Most people never achieve a 125-gallon tank. And you're right. I should have had a caveat in there. Okay, this may not apply to you if you're over 100 gallons. Um, but in a 20-gallon tank, 20 crabs, absolutely. 40-gallon tank, 40
yes,
crabs, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And once you get at some point that curve tapers off and you asymptote out, right? Uh,
Right. Yep.
yeah, yeah. All right. Um, but yeah, so lights will be an upgrade, I think, for me as we go. But I've enjoyed playing with a little controller that I've got up there. I don't see that controller making it upstairs to the living room unless I actually cut up the lights that I have upstairs and try to run through. I think they're running a different voltage actually than these guys. These things, this is all running 5 volts, and I think they're 12-volt output on those up there. So
Gotcha. All right, man. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this up for this evening. Go
yeah, I was
spend
going to
some time
say
with the wife
I'm
and settle
probably
down.
well. This has been my first. I ping into some of these things on a regular basis, but I've never gone beyond.
Hanging out
Just
in the chat. Yeah.
yeah, hanging out in the chat for a few minutes and going, yeah, I don't get what they're talking about, and moving on. So
Right. It's fun to be part of the conversation, isn't it?
well, I I think it could be that you and I are the entire conversation right now, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe there was one extra person watching. We did at one point have like 6 or 7, and people in the chat talk and sometimes have a question, and then the people on the Hangouts are talking and giving the other people something to listen to.
Yeah, I have to figure out the whole thing, how to watch the chat while having the hang. Yeah, interesting,
Well, I
interesting. It's all
I
a leap
have
forward for me.
my desktop computer upstairs is the main server, so to speak, because I'll get better latency that way. And then I have my phone downstairs joined, and it's on the fish tank. And then I have a laptop next to me, which has my live stream up, and that way I can go through the comments.
Yeah, that's a lot of production.
Yeah, well, hey,
That's a lot of production.
got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, well, so yeah, that's another one of those things, right? I've been playing with video editing software as well, right? Having fun with that. So
What are you using?
I am using HitFilm.
Okay.
It's PC based. Um, they've got a free version, and it's far more powerful than I need right now. But if I wanted more, I guess I can pay for more upgrades. I don't think I need to generate overlays so that any of my text burns live on the screen or any of those kinds of things. Explosions, gunshot, muzzle stuff. I can do all of that in there, but I don't think I need to.
I ended
But
up
it's
getting a cheaper Movavi, something like that. I saw actually an ad for it on a YouTube advertisement, and I'm like, oh, hey, that's what I use. And like you said, it can do so many things, and I don't mess with it. I try to keep it relatively simple and have enough that it appears like it's not shot with something from the early '90s, and at least have some production value to it.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I've found I'm actually more capable of putting together something I think is decent by taking still photos and then going into HitFilm and basically, doing zoom sequences and stuff with those stills. I can pan around a picture and zoom in on pieces that I want and all the rest of that. Then I am actually, shooting a video that does the same thing, because when I shoot the video, I'm not good at shooting a video yet. So I mean, if you go back through a lot of the stuff I've done is more recent stuff. It's all very um, static, but I use the static pictures and I zoom in and out and move around on stuff.
Gotcha. Yep.
And I can
Right
play
on.
with different tracks and I can overlay music, and yeah. So I've been having fun with that too. But when I first started with all of that, I spent 2 weeks learning video editing and not playing with my fish tank. So yet another
Never enough
diversion.
time for everything.
No, no. All right. Hey, I'll let you go.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Good to
Thanks for
chat.
stopping by.
Take care.
All right, guys. So with that, we're gonna call it a night. Thanks for everybody that stopped by. If anybody's still hanging out in the channel, and Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.